Algebra 2, Chapter 7-3, Binomial Radical Expressions. Today we're going to discuss like radicals, and then we're going to learn how to add and subtract radical expressions and multiply and divide binomial radical expressions. Okay? So first, what is a like radical? Like radicals are radical expressions that have the same index and the same radicand. To add or subtract like radicals, you just use base distributive property. So let's look at an example. So I got 5 3 root of x minus 3 3 root of x. Okay? Since the radicand and the index are the same, we can just treat this like 5 minus 3 in parentheses of the cube root of x. Okay, so let's look at the next example. B, 4 square root of 2 plus 5 square root of 3. The radicals are not like radicals. The indexes are the same, but the radicands are not the same, so they cannot be combined. Okay, so 1a. Add 2 square root of 7 plus 3 square root of 7. Since the radicand and the index are the same, we just add the numbers together, so it's 5 square root of 7. The next example, subtract 7 fourth root of 5 minus 2 cube root of 5. It's not possible because the indexes are not the same, so we cannot combine them. Alright, add 4 square root xy plus 5 square root xy. The radicand and the indexes are the same, so we can combine like terms. So it's going to become 9 square root xy. All right, real-world connection. All right, what you see is a design for a stained glass window. Each small square is 5 inches a side. Express the dimensions of the window and its perimeter in simplest form. Okay, the diagonals of each square with the side length s is s squared root of 2. We know that from the Pythagorean theorem. So the window's height is 2 times 5 square root of 2. Alright, or 10 square root of 2. The length is 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. So 4 times 5 square root of 2, or 20 square root of 2. So the perimeter is the sum of those. So the perimeter is 2 times the height, which is 10 square root of 2, and the length, which is 5 square root of 2, which ends up combining to be 60 square root of 2. Alright, so the question says this. Find the perimeter of the window if each small square is 6 inches on a side. Okay? So again, we know the diagonal of a square is nothing more than side times the square root of 2. So that value right there, side square root of 2, for us is nothing more than 6 square root of 2. So we're going to have 2 of those. So the height is 12 square root of 2. The width is 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. So 4 times 6 square root of 2. So the height is 12 square root of 2. The width is 24 square root of 2. And the perimeter is twice that. Since I have square root of 2, the radicals are the same. It's going to be 2 times 36 square root of 2, which would be 72 square roots of 2. Which would be 101.8. So the answer is A. Alright, simplify radicals before adding and subtracting so you can find the like radicals. So here we go. Simplify 6 square root of 8 plus 6 square root of 18 plus 4 square root of 8 minus 3 square root of 72. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to factor each radicand, and we're going to try to find and simplify radical expressions. So 6 square root of 18 really becomes 18 square root of 2 because you can factor out a 9. 4 square root of 8 really comes down to 8 square root of 2. And 3 squared is 72, becomes 18 square root of 2. So then you can add those together, sum like terms, and you get 8 square root of 2. Okay, let's simplify 3 together. Square root of 50 plus 3 times the square root of 32 minus 5 times the square root of 18. So let's look at square root of 50. That's going to be 2 times 25. Well, what's the square root of 25? Well, and if you don't see it, you can code 5 to 5. So I can reduce square root of 50 to 5 square root of 2. Okay. This can simplify to 2 to 16, which goes to 4 and 4. So that's going to be plus 4 times 3 square root of 2. 4, yep. Okay, minus, let's break down 18. 2 to 9, which would be 3 to 3, which should be minus 3 times 5 square root of 2. So let's simplify. 5 square root of 2 plus 12 square root of 2 minus 15 square root of 2. When you sum like terms, you're going to get 2 square roots of 2. So the answer is C. Again, a little trick is once you find one radical sign, you know the rest if they're going to match up, and try to make them match that radical sign, whatever the radicand is, okay? Okay, next example, next part, multiplying and dividing binomial radical expressions. Multiplying radical expressions and binomials, you can just do it using FOIL method. Don't let the radical sign screw you up. So, here we go. Multiply 3 times the square, 3 plus 2 times square root of 5 times 2 plus 4 square root of 5. So, start with your 3. Let's just go through the book. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 4 square root of 5 is 3 times 4 square root of 5, which is 12 square root of 5. 2 times square root of 5 would be 4 square root of 5. And 2 times 4 square root of 5, 2 square root of 5 times 4 square root of 5 would become 8 square root of 25, which would become 40. So sum of your like terms, you got a 6, you got a 12 square root of 5, 4 square root of 5, and a 40. So it's going to be 46 plus 16 square roots of 5. Alright, let's look at our example here. Multiply square root of 2 minus the square root of 3 squared. So what we're saying is square root of 2 minus the square root of 3 times square root of 2 minus square root of 3. Let's go to the first term. Square root of 2 times square root of 2 is 2. Square root of 2 times negative square root of 3 would be negative square root of 6. Go to the next term. Negative square root of 5 times square root of 2 is negative square root of 6. Negative square root of 3 times negative square root of 3 would be positive 3. Sum like terms. I'm going to get 5 minus 2 square roots of 6. The answer is B. Okay? Moving on. Remember, the square root of n squared is nothing more than n, whatever that may be. Next example. Conjugates, such as this, the radical a, square root of a plus square root of b, and a, square root of a minus square root of b, differ in only the sign of the second terms. We've learned about conjugates before. If a and b are rational numbers, then the product of these conjugates is a rational number. So, if I get square root of a plus square root of b, and I multiply it by square root of a minus square root of b, I'm going to get a minus b. So here's what we need to know. The products of conjugates are rational. So, let's multiply conjugates. So 2 plus the square root of 3 times 2 minus the square root of 3. So that's going to be just 2 squared minus the square root of 3 squared, which would be 4 minus 3, which would be 1. Remember, we can make it a squared minus b squared. Alright, so we got the square root of 5 plus the square root of 2 times the square root of 5 minus square root of 2. So we can say that that's a difference of squares. So we can say that's going to be the square root of 5 squared minus the square root of 2 squared, which means 5 minus 2 which means 3. Answer is D. Okay, just understand it's a difference of squares. Okay. Next example. Sometimes you need to rationalize the denominator of a fraction when the denominator is a binomial radical. Multiplying the numerator and the denominator by the fraction of the conjugate is how we get rid of it. So rationalize, so we have 3 plus the square root of 5 over 1 minus the square root of 5. We need to get rid of the radical sign on the bottom. So we're going to multiply the top and the bottom by its conjugate. So that's going to be 1 plus the square root of 5. Okay? So we know the bottom's just going to be 1 squared minus the square root of 5 squared. Okay, which is going to be 1 minus 5, which is going to be negative 4. So we know we have a negative 4 on the bottom. Now, we just got to FOIL the top. Okay? What's 3 times 1? 3. 3 times square root of 5, square root of 5. Plus, what's the square root of 5 times 1? Square root of 5. What's the square root of 5 times square root of 5? That'd be 5. So that's going to simplify to 8 plus 2 square root of 5. So negative 4 over 8 plus 2 square root of 5. Actually, that's a 3 there. My fault. That should be a 4. Alright. So it's going to be 8 plus 4 square root of 5. So I got 8 plus 4 square root of 5 all over negative 4. So I can simplify that to negative 2 minus the square root of 5. Okay. Negative 2 minus square root of 5. Let's do another one. Rationalize the denominator. Alright. I'm going to multiply the bottom by 4 plus the square root of 15 and the top by 4 plus square root of 15. So the bottom's going to become 16, that's 4 squared. Let's just do 4 squared minus the square root of 15 squared, which is going to be 16 minus 15, which is going to be 1. So my denominator is 1 now. So let's worry about the top. So what is 6 times 6? It's 24. 6 times square root of 15, 6 square root of 15. What's square root of 15 times 4? 4 square root of 15. And what's square root of 15 times square root of 15? It's positive 15. So 24 plus 15 is 39. 6 square root of 15 plus 4 square root of 15 is 10 square root of 15. And again, it was all over 1, so my final answer is just 39 plus 10 times the square root of 15. Okay. Make sure you know how to do this. Double check your work. And that is the lesson for today.